I'm your host, Muhammad Bey. Welcome back to the Trade Brokers Diaries special video on Africa, open for business. On this video, I want to talk to you about the top 10 issues that I think are important as areas that need focus within the African continent. Now, these areas are being addressed by people all over the world. But that doesn't mean that you can't make an impact as well. These issues are crucial, and in this video I'm going to detail each of them with as much detail as time will allow. At the end of this video, we'll give you some information about the next video where we're going to talk about one particular country which we think is important for you to know about, and that's Sierra Leone. And in future videos, we're going to address other countries. So let's take a look at these issues which are important for you to know about in order to do business in Africa. Areas which are of great interest to people. These are great big problems, and anyone who comes along to solve these problems is going to make a lot of money. So let's take a look.
In reality, there are so many situations on the continent that can use outside attention and greater attention from local and regional governments that it is fair to say that just about anywhere you go on the African continent, you will find a problem waiting to be solved. It requires a keen eye and an open mind to see that no matter what the problem is, be it lack of clean water, the need for indoor plumbing, not enough electricity, take your pick, there is in fact a solution, and you need not be a billionaire to supply that solution, at least in part or in whole, if possible. Let's take a look at the most persistent areas of need. Infrastructure. This is a constant refrain in all corners of the continent. The need for roads, bridges, tunnels, dams, solar farms, communications, street lights. Issues like these, in most cases, can only be solved by local and regional and national governments working together, creating systems where contracts are bid on to build the needed infrastructure. So how can one get involved? Well, if you don't own your own multi-million-dollar construction company, there is still a way to get involved. You can become a subcontractor to a firm that is supplying some of these services. If you supply water filters, for example, as I do, you can research companies that do overseas construction, building bridges, tunnels, laying undersea cables, and providing medical services, or managing a port, and contact their offices to find out about their procedures for contracting with them. Keep in mind that while going to the continent may not always be something you can do due to monetary issues, there are ways to address this part of the equation as well.
Education. Most of the population of the African continent is under 35 years of age and looking for educational opportunities. Many families are willing to pay top dollar to educate their children, even to send them overseas. All areas are open, from corporate training to primary school and secondary school, professional training, certification training such as computer certification, university and tutoring. There are also numerous opportunities in the areas that support education, such as textbooks, school furniture, school uniforms, easy-to-use computers and tablets, school supplies, and teaching opportunities, not just for teaching students, but to increase the ready supply of available teachers as well. Employment. Even though more than half the top 20 fastest growing economies are on the African continent, Africa still has the highest unemployment rates in the world. This is due in part to the lack of a job market infrastructure. Any of the African nations would benefit from a new service to promote job offers in any given country. Efforts are being made in these areas, but there still exists plenty of virgin market for general and niche services catering to the needs of people who need help finding employment and finding ways that they can start their own businesses. Waste. Waste is a multi-billion-dollar problem in Africa. Over 60 million tons of waste a year are generated on the continent. Much just lays where it is dropped, or sinks to the bottom of rivers, streams, canals, or sewers, where it clogs up the waterways and pollutes the water table, while still much more is just burned or pushed into a landfill. Finding even small ways to recycle waste or process it so it becomes non-toxic to the environment would be a much sought-after service on the continent. Clean water. Without doubt, this is one of the most critical issues facing the continent to date. Populations all over the continent have restricted access to clean water sources. In fact, Africans have more access to cell phones than they have to clean water continent-wide. The opportunities for personal water filtering and handheld water filtering appliances is huge, and the need for water-related projects to bring water to farms and communities is almost endless. Electricity. Again, if you're not working with a manufacturer, say, of turbines, dams, or other large industrial products or projects, then offering people smaller, more immediate product solutions can be of use, such as solar lamps and rechargeable flashlights. Such products would go over very well in cities and remote villages. Here is a continent with over 1 billion people on it, and it has the electrical grid capacity of a country no larger than France. Africa's population is growing and needs electricity for homes, schools, hospitals, streets, towns, and villages alike. With more than 250 days of sunlight each year, continent-wide, solar power is definitely one way to go. Housing. With a population over 1 billion as of 2010, African nations will have severe housing shortages as people leave traditional villages for cities and towns. The opportunities in construction materials, such as cement and brick, wood and aluminum, real estate investment in hotels, hostels, and lodges, as well as residential and office accommodations, are considerable. There may even be a market for tiny houses and tube hotels, tent housing, and other portable housing in some areas. These are some of the most populous countries in Africa. They include Nigeria, Ethiopia, Egypt, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and South Africa. Transportation. Due to rising urbanization, many Africans live in cities and need low-cost transportation. Many Africans spend up to a third of their income on transport costs in their daily lives. More than 500 million Africans need transport solutions. Opportunities in transport cover the gambit, from air, rail, and sea transport, vehicle repair, parts sales, limos and taxi services, inner-city and intra-city transport. Food. African nations spend billions on food imports, and yet the continent has more than 50% of the Earth's uncultivated land. Finding ways to bring farmers in other parts of the world to African communities seeking to rent their land for cultivation may be one solution you can bring to the table. Working as an agent for a community or an agricultural firm outside of the continent, you will discover that opportunities abound continent-wide. Working as a go-between for agricultural products can be very lucrative. Population growth. Africa currently has a very low population density of about 65 people per square mile, which puts it behind Asia, Europe, and South America. The population of the African continent is currently projected to quadruple in just 90 years, with a growth rate that will make Africa more important than ever to the global economy. Africa's Nigeria, for example, is currently one of the most populous countries on earth. And as China's population shrinks and India's population plateaus, Nigeria will reach nearly 1 billion people by the year 2100 and come close to surpassing China all by itself. This is pretty amazing when you realize that Nigeria is not much larger than the state of Texas. Nigeria is set for one of the biggest population booms in world history, and it is expected to increase by a factor of 8 in just 2 or 3 generations. The boom in Africa's population will be in sub-Saharan Africa, including countries like Tanzania, which is one of the poorest countries on earth. Just 13 years ago, the country's population was 34 million, which now has grown to 45 million, but is projected to reach 276 million by the year 2100, which is close to the current population of the United States. Many consider Africa's population growth a bit frightening, with predictions placing the continent's population at 1.9 billion by 2050 AD. By 2100, 3/4 of the world's growth is expected to come from the African continent, reaching 4.1 billion people by 2100, to claim over 1/3 of the world's population. Most countries will at least triple in population, as the region has very high fertility rates and very little family planning in most regions. As much of Africa is still developing, and it contains some of the poorest countries on earth, time will tell how it will sustain such massive population growth.
As you can see, these are really important issues. They are the kind of matters that cover the entire African continent, and if you deal with just one of these issues, you're going to make a truckload of money. Write to us. We're always interested in hearing what you have to say. As usual, our email address is right here. And for all of you YouTube and file sharing video service users, please always comment, rate, and subscribe to our videos. Again, thanks for watching our video. I'm your host, Muhammad Bey, for this special presentation of the Trade Broker's Diary, Africa Open for Business. Thanks for watching, and take care.
In part 2 of the Trade Broker's Diary's special presentation of Africa Open for Business, a private conversation with His Majesty Daramount Methuselah Z.O. Bradley IV, Honorary Consul for Sierra Leone.
Our president, Ernest Bai Koroma, for Sierra Leone, he has made it so that you used to have to go to this spot to get this license, to another spot to get that. It was a long time to get it done. Now it's within a couple of days you can actually get all the things that you need to have done and be in business and go to work. The climate is that they really want investors. They really want, and I think it is a bonanza for people that want to come in now because we've had so much of this.
Be sure to join us